Welcome back to Super Week in the North American Strikers League, where we just watched Demons Raw pick up the victory over Winterfall, and now are about to watch the Sad Boys as they square off versus Goats Esports. With Goats hopefully feeling like they've got a little bit of momentum here. I think not many people would have expected them to pick up the win that they did yesterday versus Channing, and now, of course, they've got to go up against the metaphorical buzzsaw that are the Sad Boys with their impeccable team coordination and such. Alter, what are we thinking as we head into this one?
I think what we are thinking about is the fact that Sad Boys, as you said, is a saw blade, a monstrous team, as most people know them as the top of the ranked ladder and the top first place of most tournaments, like others that are of Omega Strikers. And as such, it's going to be very hard to face them. I myself have been a victim of what they can do in the ranked ladder, and it is always a sight to behold when you run into all three of them. And so seeing them in a ranked game like this, it's gonna be hard for Fudgy and Kilius to make those plays with I love Albion. I believe his name is if you could help me
A
out
palme.
here. Apalme. Yes.
It's a palme.
Apalme,
But of
yes.
course, we're too addicted with the Albion brain rot to think of anything else. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not looking too good here for Goats, but they have some potential things that could happen. Of course, it's any sort of awakenings carousels could happen. Any sort of map rolls could happen. We could go back to Inkies a couple of times, which is a map that the Sad Boys very notoriously hate. Obviously, they were able to dodge it yesterday versus Core Overflow. Though I was talking with Fudgy Waffles a little bit, and he doesn't sound too happy with the prospect of going to Inkies from the Goats POV either. So I don't think either team's going to be too happy if we roll into that map. But of course, we'll see. By the looks of it today, the odds are probably saying that we're going right back to Obscura because apparently Obscura calls. And when Obscura calls, we answer with more matches on stream that feature the gates. For some reason, I don't know why, but that seems to be what the game's given us today. So maybe we'll have to go with it.
Maybe we will, as you said it, the gates are calling, and if we get another map like that, we're going to see a lot more creation characters come out, as we saw the Rune and the Atlas were coming out. And honestly, if we get gates, I feel like it's going to be a lot more of anyone's game, as you were saying, especially with that Inky Splash Zone, as both teams might not like to get it, but getting it would be more in the favor of the goats, because then it's less of a either, Sad Boys isn't as used to that map, and it's going to be easier to play around them and play on that map. And especially as you're saying, the Awakenings, if they're able to get some, it's going to be really nice if they can get some best in slots and all of those as such. But it does seem it's going to be an uphill battle for Goats.
We'll see what the Omega Strikers gods have in store for us. Number one amongst those gods is John Odyssey himself. We'll see what maps we end up rolling here in this one. Is actually we don't have Inkies at all on the higher roll rates there. So we'll see, of course, what ends up happening here. But as we take a look at the rest of what's going on, I want to take a real brief look myself at these standings one more time because, of course, we've got the Sad Boys and Demons Raw ahead of everyone here. But other than that, we're going to start seeing a lot more of these teams start to try to work their way up there, right? Goats
Mhm.
right now is sitting at 2-2, and they've gotten a mix of higher level opponents versus weaker opponents throughout the season so far. Now, after this one, they'll have the Sad Boys done and out of their way, and they won't have that many more other large juggernauts to work with. So they might be able to go forward for a winning record. But this map might be a fun one for Goats Esports. It's IME's app coming out here. And Fudgy Waffles put up 21 KOs yesterday versus Chikara chatting on this very map with the Rasmus pick. We'll see if it's left up, and indeed it is, as both teams are feeling comfortable in their Rasmus players.
Fudgy Waffles on the Rasmus pick. He is someone that I adore seeing play Rasmus because he is very strong here, but it does seem that we're going to be seeing a Juliet Ditto match as we see a Palme on it, and I could only imagine that that is Bells on the other side. Kilius bringing out his signature Dracar goalie, and then surely Fudgy locks in on that Rasmus as we're seeing a Dubu pick, and a Rasmus match. So this is looking like a very close to, matching game, other than the goalie side of things.
Interesting, though, to see Vaughn go over to the Rasmus here, because normally we'd probably just see Bells play it, or I think there's a non-zero chance that You Already Lose might have picked up a Rasmus before Vaughn, but instead he's going to pick it up here as we are on Quick Strike's cast to last start. All things considered, You Already Lose picking up the cast to last for the stun duration here of all things. We'll see if that ends up panning out, but of course, critically as well, it's pummelers for all of the forwards on this map. They'll have increased knockback as they try to punch their opponents into this pit in the middle, but now the goal barrier is hit, and the Sad Boys look to collapse here, pulling Kilius back, but doesn't create a large enough opening for the core to go through. Bells looks for the KO, can't find it there, and Vaughn's pendulum swing comes up just shy before this first goal goes in. Here's Vaughn, maybe a little bit of room to work with, but no. Sent away now by Fudgy Waffles. And Bells does not quite fast enough yet to keep it in. You Already Lose tries to keep the pressure up forward with the rollout log, but now Vaughn will strike first against Fudgy Waffles. The fiery flurry comes out of Bells, and he'll take it himself in the corner.
Definitely a lot of fishing we're going to be seeing here, as both Rasmuses have that quick strike pummelers. They're going to have those abilities to, the more quick strikes, it means more core flips with that energy boost it has. And as we saw, Fudgy Waffles tried to fish one out on Vaughn there, but Vaughn was holding on for dear life at the edge of that pond there. Now Fudgy trying to get the goal in, with Vaughn blocking it out with the Rasmus Death's Touch, and it does seem that Bells is able to get a KO while staggered, fighting for his life, and their barrier's down. Now with You Already Lose coming in with the core flip and the tofu wall to stop it from going anywhere, able to secure that goal.
Beautiful rotation and good awareness there from the Sad Boys, making the call for You Already Lose to come in and go forward, especially while Caleb has that energy burst at his disposal as well. They realize there is an opportunity on that play to make something happen, and they find the execution and let Bells go backwards with the stagger. But now Bells finds yet another KO, the dash punch against Fudgy Waffles, who hasn't been able to get that hook out much at all in this game because he's been taken off the pitch so much. And now I Love Albion pulled right back towards that pit. It's another power play. It gets extended for the Sad Boys. There's the barrier. Bells will collect it. Fudgy Waffles, though, sends it right back. Tries to pull You Already Lose in, but Caleb's able to dodge away for now. Two Rasmuses, south side of the map. Can't find it there, and now Bells keeps possession of the core. Beautifully done to find the angle, but Kilius is ready for it on the save. Still haven't seen this amount of forward pressure at all come out of the side of Goats Esports. It feels like possession is almost always to the favor of the Sad Boys, and there it is again as Bells sends yet another one back.
It does seem they're having a hard time fighting that midfield and forward presence against Bells and You Already Lose and Vaughn, because all three of them really are playing that midfield potential very strongly. And now as Sad Boys is able to get the first set, they are able to start snowballing with these awakenings, but with Rasmus taking specialized training on Amy's app is definitely a hard one to pass up on, as it is very powerful, and it's going to make sure a lot more hooks are deadly, and he can hook you from almost anywhere now.
Vaughn will take that pickup any day of the week, and now denials coming through means that it's going to be Bells picking up the spark of strength, and you see the tempo swing come online for I Love Albion. And, okay, never mind. Forget any point I was trying to make, because we're going fishing. Okay, doesn't matter. Put on your fisherman gear, grab your fishing rods, because that's all that's going to happen in this game. Okay, Vaughn's going to keep finding these death touches, continually find these KOs, find these power play opportunities, and keep possession of the core for the Sad Boys.
And as you say that, another death's touch comes through. Now Kilius working overtime, keeping this power play from getting to his barrier, which he's so far expertly been able to do by passing behind the barrier, which is something that is very hard to see and very hard to do, especially even in this high of a tournament play. But now with Apalme back into play, they're hopefully able to turn it around, as they are starting to see more slowdown in the midfield zone, which means they have more time to breathe, more time to allocate what they're doing and who they're sending to where. As now it does seem that Vaughn is able to get the backwards kill, though, with the specialized, because now he doesn't have to just hook you from across, he can hook you backwards into that hole. Now with Vaughn getting core flip, but Kilius stops it out with his own core flip and a KO to boot. Now, he is proving he does not need to fish.
Good punch there as well from Albion to save the goal barrier for Goats. Power play opportunity the other way will dissipate. And now Fudgy Waffles and Apalmi on opposite sides of the pit can't find the connection, and Bells finds the KO as the punishment against Apalmi. Now looking to collapse this play, has the energy burst, will use it there. Now punches it through and eventually wins the ensuing engagement. Vaughn down to Bells, but he gets pulled back into the goal that he's trying to score in by Fudgy Waffles. Core flip out of You Already Lose, sends it over to Vaughn, but he's not able to find the angle to the net. Still the power play here for Goats. Fudgy able to find the disruption, enabling that core to come through and strike the goal barrier. Apalmi looking forward. Now Fudgy Waffles able to find the death touch, and finally things are starting to come online here for Goats. Looks like all they needed was a couple of warm-up games, and now Fudgy Waffles will flip it into the net.
Yeah, one thing that Amy's app will always have, if you have that KO potential on both sides, it can still be anyone's game, even in the last set, as those hooks can start connecting and you can start feeling the rhythm of where you need to be and where you need to properly fish to get those fishies in, and you can turn the game around. But it does seem that Vaughn is still in that prime spot that he found ages ago, as he's able to get a Palme again in that rod, and now it seems that they're trying to get that barrier down, and Bells is keeping this pressure over there, trying to make the most of this power play, but Palme is coming back into play now as the barrier almost gets taken out, but You Already Loses there to grab it with his secondary. Now it does seem that Fudgy missed his hook, trying to get this, keeping it on their side though, doing a very good job of that. Kilius missed the kill on the Bells there, but Bells now getting core flip. Hopefully he might be looking for some retaliation now. Fudgy is juggling it on this Tofu Fortress, trying to get through to Vaughn, which is able to do a pass to Apalme, trying to get it through now. It does seem that Apalme is just quite large enough to get that through, as now they're still keeping the momentum on that side, but with Bells getting that core flip kill, it does seem that this power play will go right to Bells, as he now has core control here, and Vaughn is able to get a hooking kill.
Get used to hearing that bass sound that plays every time someone falls into the pit or otherwise gets KO'd. Because I think we're on par to hear that sound probably at least 50 times in this match. We'll see what ends up happening here, as now it goes right around. The double death touches will connect. Trey's 1-for-1. You Already Lose forward here, trying to find it up to Bells, but no. Again, this Juliet doesn't have the speed quite to reposition. It now has continued to get bullied away. Here comes Kilius forward, shoving Bells away, and now is back in time to defend any threat that might have come towards that goal. Long rally here from both of these teams. And the core speed going to start to pick up. So we see the passing play come through. Fudgy again takes a shot towards the goal barrier, still saved away by You Already Lose, and it goes behind the barrier once again. Couple of breaks here for Caleb on the back line, and now Death Touch finds the connection, but this time it's to Kilius. Fudgy Waffles has to drop back, and so despite the goal gates being open, there's not another player that can be there to collapse. Bells looking to find the core, and now sends it down to the bottom corner himself. A rally well fought on both sides, but at the end of the day, one goalie was KO'd and the other one stayed standing.
Keeping that goalie alive is definitely something you want to do, and definitely something easier to do if you're able to deny Fudgy from getting that specialized training by getting it first on pick, which Vaughn did get, and he's able to show how he can use it there, getting another backwards hook. And now, but it does seem that Palme was able to make a play off of that distraction that Vaughn was making, and able to get the barrier for himself with a shot, trying to get the goal barrier, but it's not quite enough now, as Vaughn is trying to get the goal barrier, but Kilius passes it behind the goal barrier, keeping it alive here, trying to make the most and keep his teammates alive, but it doesn't seem like quite enough now, as the goal is open on both sides.
1-for-1 in terms of KOs right now. Vaughn can't have the forward presence, and now You Already Lose. Looks for the core flip, trying to get it back up to Vaughn. Death Touch is out here, trying to play a little area of effect around, and now core flips from Vaughn, but it's sent away by Fudgy Waffles. You Already Lose just barely back in time with the summer assault roll in order to save that one. Here comes Apalmi in the corner, sent back to the top side, and oh no, wait a minute, no, lock and load, able to save it there, bounces off the corner just barely. Kilius still has the energy burst as well, and this one will find the hold for now. Fantastically done with all the pressure there after one slight mistake to recover, and an energy burst burns to get it away. Palmy about to come back online here. Back up to the top side, but it's right back over to Bells. Kilius in the corner again with these locks and loads. Watch how he's playing the Strakar goalie to send the core back around and behind Bells every single time. The last thing he wants is for this Joliet to have the core in front of her. Molten Bolt out. Bells looking for the dribble off the wall. No, denied because of that speed decay that was coming out. Yuri Luz buys a little bit more time. It's right back over to Bells. Here's the dribble. Killius is still able to find it away to send it back. And now Fudgy Waffles has the mark with the core flip down to the bottom corner. Goats are hanging on by a thread, and they are fighting for dear life for this one.
Definitely, Killius is showing some of his expert Jakar goalie play. As a Jakar main myself, he is showing us good, doing us amazing favors by showing what they can do in the goalie box, as he's been able to pass behind the goal barrier, and he has been able to keep away from the Juliet's so threatening dash punch, but it wasn't quite enough here as the first goal barrier is dropped, and Vaughn with the whiplash is able to get that in now as it is match point here.
Goal 5. It's set point for both teams. We'll see who's able to take this one away. But again, the second that Sad Boys can start to get their momentum online is the second that it feels like things start to crumble. And now they've got an opportunity with this power play as Vaughn finds it another death touch. Killius around back to the goal gate once again, preventing anywhere for the Sad Boys to come in. See what happens here. Fudgy again on the whiplash, tries to send it back around. Vaughn dribbles off of the pit, now pulls back a Palmy on the death touch. Here's the opportunity again for the Sad Boys. It bounces off the pit, finds the angles that they wanted, and Bells will collect a KO against Killius. Vaughn will grab it with the pendulum swing, and Fudgy Waffles isn't there in time with a whiplash. Sad Boys take the set all the same.
One problem is that when you're playing against Sad Boys and you're showing that you have what it takes to stand amongst them, they will start targeting you, as Killius now finds himself with a target on his back, finding a lot of those 07s as he's getting KO'd by Bells because you can't defend the goal if you're not there. And now as we're seeing here though, there's a nice stuff for Jakar, which is going to be denied, but it's also really nice for Rasmus on this map actually, because you can get that longer and even powerfuler hook, especially with that specialized training. It's going to be even harder to keep it away, but Fudgy Waffles is able to land himself extra special. Now, he will be able to throw more hooks out more often. Maybe with those increased cooldowns, he'll be able to find himself more kills.
Yeah, that draft plays very differently. And hey, there's the missile propulsion coming out right off of the kickoff. Vaughn is going to find one, and now it's Bells right over to the corner. Fudgy's death touch is there for a moment, but that draft would have played out incredibly differently if both the Rasmuses weren't first, right? There were so many good awakenings for both Rasmuses that would have been denied, like that happy star, like the missile propulsion could have even get picked up by Killius with a different draft order. But instead, it was both of those Rasmuses up first. And so they get their pick at the litter. Vaughn proving his worth here on the missile propulsion. Takes yet another one here for the Sad Boys, and they're 2 away from taking the first game.
Definitely a lot of power coming out here, but Fudgy Waffle showing that he can still hang in this fishing pond as he gets a KO. Now, with I Love Albion barely missing the dash punch, but the ball is still on that side as Yuri Luz gets ready for a evade clear, and it doesn't seem that this pressure, though, that they're pushing on wasn't for vain, as they are able to find that barrier with Fudgy Waffles barely missing that hook, with that extra special having it up more often, though. Maybe that miss won't matter as much as we're seeing a 4-flip block from Fudgy, which will lead to a goal as it's unsuspectedly rolling into the net.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Fudgy Waffles finds the timing there on that core flip denial. Now it's right back over. Kickoff largely won here for the side of Goats, and now finds the KO there as Fudgy Waffles. A little bit of room to work with. Apalmi will even steal away the Sad Boys goal orb, and the Tofu Fortress won't hold the line. It's all over the place there in the bottom corner, and now Apalmi has a shot back down to the bottom corner. Yordi Luz gets KO'd as well. 2 core flips online. Bells and Vaughn attempting to find the hole here, but they have to find a passing play. No! It slips through the cracks, and now it hits the goal bearer on the other side. They don't collapse on this right away, and Vaughn is still there. Finds the angle. Denial on that very core flip. Yordi Luz back online, looking to hold it. Will be successful in doing so for the moment. Beautiful clears coming into the Sand Boys there, keeping them alive for now. And Vaughn sends it up, looking for the dribble. Palmy, no, can't find it there, but it gets pulled right back in, finds the redirection into the net, and finally, after so many attempts, the Goats are able to put it back.
Definitely a long game that they are having to play here. It's a war of attrition. who can stay alive from these deadly Rasmuses. As we see here, Fudgy Waffles showing off what I'm just saying, as that deadly Rasmus is able to find one on the other Rasmus, as Vaughn is found in the pit now. With this power play, they're trying to get that barrier when they are both, or Fudgy Waffles, I should say, is close to Corpulent, but Bells is going to shut that down before he can get it with the dash punches of his own, and another KO from Vaughn. And now it's going to be even harder to keep this power play off of Achilles, as he is by himself, alone to fight. As we're going to see here, though, that expert Shakar goaling he's been showing off is enough to wait it out and let both of his teammates come back. But it wasn't enough to save the barrier.
Able to take it there are the Sad Boys. Again, looking to try to keep possession here, sending it back to a place where only You Already Lose can influence it. And now it's back forward again. Bells looking for it forward. Here's the Fiery Flurry. Tofu Fortress out as well. Finds the KO against Kilius once more. Energy Burst comes out. Vaughn sends it around the corner. Looks for the stun against Fudgy Waffles. And now Bells sends it right back down to Vaughn. And it's another 5th goal in the set.
A 2-2 match point. Now, if they want to stay in this game, they are going to have to, the GOATs, I should say, is going to have to play this very well here and get that barrier down, which they've already done by avoiding that hook, which is very nice, because if all of your teammates are alive, you can definitely play a little bit better. But now it does seem that the ball's going to go right past them, behind the barrier now. Palme having a one-on-one against You Already Lose, juggling the ball. But there's a lot of KOing from both the Rasmuses, with Bells getting the revenge. And now it's going to be really hard to hold midfield here, as You Already Lose is pushing up there, keeping the ball on their side of the field, with Bells trying to get it through, but Achilles is able to block it with that lock and load. Now, the possession is back to Vaughn, and Bells is trying to finish out more damage, but it seems the damage is going to be founding on him, as Fudgy Waffles is able to get that Death's Touch through. Now with Corpulent from Apalme trying to get this ball to Fudgy Waffle right there, as we can do, but You Already Lose is watching it and able to keep it out. It's going to be very hard to keep it with Kilius trying to keep the ball on their side, but another KO is found on Fudgy.
Goats are still playing incredibly well, but it's just not enough when you're going up against this team that's been doing it together for so long. See what happens here now. As you see Bells dumping all of his abilities against Kilius. Now Vaughn tries to go for the death touch here, but it's still not enough to completely kill him. He's forward in the core flip. You Already Lose will use one there, and now it's sent back by the lock and load from Kilius. The forward goalie Drakkar, he can do it all, but hasn't been able to put it back yet. It bounces back and forth between the pit and the Tofu Fortress. Kilius, again, looking for a Palme while Fudgy Waffles attempts to hold. Now, the rotation is made back the other way, but here come the Sad Boys. Bells is there on the Flying Phoenix, almost hits it there, threads the needle, but the goal gate is just a little bit too late to open. Now a Palme trying to find the dribble, loses control, back over to You Already Lose, and it's right back on this blue side of the pitch here. Vaughn up to Bells. Actually, he'll just take it himself as the clear angle was denied. And the Sad Boys will take yet another 3-0 sweep in sets, despite just how much the Goats were fighting for it.
Even though that was technically a 3-0 set-wise, the Goats Esports was hanging on, showing that they can hang in this pond, but it wasn't enough. As you said, they did have 4 goals of their own, 2 of them on the last set, but they needed that one extra goal to make the set swing in their favor, maybe getting some better awakenings for themselves, like maybe Deadeye on the Rasmus, but all of that is in vain if you can't get that last goal, which they couldn't. And with that 26 KOs from You Already Lose, having none of them just from Vaughn and Bells alone. Quite a lot of KO potential on those two, with a lot of it being from that pond, but who's to say?
26 is a crazy number for one team to come through with. Fudgy Waffles, of course, putting up with 7 of his own. So what? That's a total of 37 KOs that happened over the course of the entirety of that match. And there were only something like, 9 and 4. So 13 points scored. That's about 3 KOs happened. Someone went off of the map about 3 times every single goal. That's crazy. That's just crazy. That's crazy.
Insane.
Oh
I
dear.
I do not even know what to say about that. With a lot of KOs usually means less redirects, but as we're seeing here, the KOs weren't just for a quick game. It was also a long game with a lot of redirects on both sides. Most people over 100. You already lose, closing in that gap to 200 redirects, showing that he has the ability to make his mark on the play, show that he has the ability to change the way the match is going by having that core control.
Let's be clear. Some of those are Mickey Mouse numbers because they just bounce back and forth off of the wall against the Tofu Fortress. I'm more impressed with actually Vaughn's 161 because that's a little less, Mickey Mouseable. Is that a word now? Well, I'm making it a word now.
Term.
Such high numbers across the board, really, from a lot of the folks we're seeing between Kilius, Fudgy, and Vaughn all together there. And again, always trying to have an influence over the core, always trying to put it in a place where their teammates can get to it, because those numbers are a lot more difficult to rack up in a, might I remind you, 3-set match. Yeah, sure, that went the distance in 2 of those sets, but in a 3-set match where a lot of those, ended up being towards, whatever. We're going back. We're just doing the same thing again. I'm losing words. We're going to watch the same thing happen again because both these teams are going to leave the Rasmus again, and they're not going to ban it away because they think they can do it. And hey, if you're GOATs, why wouldn't you? A different set of Awakenings rolls, and maybe you can take it here.
Maybe you can. I honestly, maybe I'm biased as a Drakkar player, but I was impressed by the Drakkar goaling as he was able to hit that back pass, but it seems that Sad Boys was impressed by it as well, as Achilles is now going to find himself target banned there. No more Drakkar goalie found on this map, but we are seeing the Juliet Rasmus Ditto again now with Kilius running the Rune goalie. I'm very curious to see. It is going to be Dubu again, so the same team on Sad Boys' side with a little bit of a mix-up on the side of GOATS Esports.
Small little mix-up here. Kilius forced to go over to a different pick and opts for this Rune. We'll see whether or not it can actually have an influence here on our Starting Awakenings prime time built different. I am calling it the emotional support teddy bear. Everybody gets one, nearly. And the goalies will pick up this prime time for a little bit of extra forward presence. And overall, especially for Kilius, the ability to have those Rune Pillars out wherever he wants, but it doesn't matter because Bells is still able to collect the core there on the first time. Slips through the wickets there as Vaughn finds the pass to send it down.
Definitely a strong Awakenings to play around, as both Rasmuses don't just benefit a little bit from the 5%, but mainly from that 30% size increase, letting their abilities have a harder or an easier time to hit, as Vaughn is showing that off, getting a KO right off the bat on Fudgy, and Bells following up on that power play with a goal of his own. Definitely they're coming out swinging. They had the time to prepare for this match, this match-up, I should say, this almost close to Ditto match and this Ditto map.
Let's make ourselves clear. Remember, GOATs took a set to warm up in the last one. Maybe they'll have to do that here as well, and actually, maybe it'll only be 2 points as they're able to shove it past there, and Kilius is back in time with a Shadow Swap. Tofu Fortress is out to buy a little bit more space for You Already Lose. Now Fudgy Waffles pulls Vaughn back away, trying to find something here, and now Vaughn is staggered completely. Palmy looking in pursuit of the KO, can't find it there, and actually, it's Bells that'll get KO'd first. Palmy tries to get pulled back here by Vaughn, but he's still able to heal up, able to dodge enough of the damage, and now it's Palmy that's in trouble. Bells comes right off the respawn, immediately presses the Fiery Flurry, but it doesn't matter because of the Rune Pillar range buff, as Kilius still send one back exactly where You Already Lose wasn't expected.
Kilius is a very strong goalie player, not just for his able to play the game really well, almost close to perfectly in the defensive position, but also extremely powerful in the offensive role of goalie as well. As we're seeing right here, he's all the way in that net on Rune, and it seems maybe that costed him though at the barrier now, even though Vaughn was gone. A little mishap led to that happening now with Bells taking full stagger from both of the Rune Pillars. It's going to be tough to say what's going to happen on this set, but we know for sure that we're going to see both Juliets gone.
1-for-1 trade once again as the Death Touch finds its mark. Vaughn now on the dribble, uses the whiplash, sends it around. Now, Achilles forced to use that energy burst, afraid there, perhaps, of what the direction Vaughn might be sending it. Now, the anomaly comes out once again to prevent Bells from just shoving it home. Power play opportunity once more, as Vaughn was taken off the pitch this time. Fiery Flurry doesn't connect with the goal barrier this time. They can't find the stuff down through this bottom corner. The banish comes out, knocks Yori-Lose away, but the barrier is still held. Here's the Tofu Fortress, and the Particle Accelerator sends it back to the other side of the map. Sad Boys take the first set.
Definitely hard to play around that. It does seem, though, that they had a game plan where Kilius was going to come in and banish the goalie and maybe a forward as well, but without a Chrono Boost or Castellast, it wasn't long enough. But now here, he has the chance to redeem himself on that and take a Castellast, maybe, perhaps. No, he's going to opt for a Rapid Fire, but it is unfortunately too late to stop Vaughn from once again getting specialized training.
There it is again. Vaughn takes it. Second carousel. Sad Boys win the first set. They get bested slot on the Rasmus on this map in particular, just for that increased knockback range. See what comes through for the rest of this here. Oh my goodness, that was such a fast barrier. Bounces off the pit in the middle. And we're right back to the Sad Boys' advantage. Bells takes it himself, and now it's Kilius that's stunned in the process. Can't act on it at all. And it finds the net in a 10-second goal.
Definitely something that sometimes can happen when you're Rasmus. You go for a player, but you end up finding the core, and it comes back to your barrier. Sometimes that will make your goalie pretty angry, but I'm pretty sure Kilius understands that in order to beat this type of team, you have to play a risque sometimes moves, and most of the time for them, hopefully they'll pay off, which will lead to the goal getting taken down. Now, as we're seeing though, there's definitely a lot more potential and power coming out here from Sad Boys as they're able to get the barrier down. And now, with Yori-Lose already so far up, Vaughn is now in the goalie seat with Yori-Lose actually gone. And now Vaughn is going to have to defend against all three of these players. And it seems that he's quite almost able to do so, which he is with the assist of Bells getting a nice KO. Yori-Lose back, putting the Tofu Fortress, trying to have Bells make a play here. But the ball is going to be coming back.
Vaughn, Death Touch, collects the core. Again, looks to collapse on this with his partner in crime. Can't do it there. As Palmy will shove it right through on the Flying Phoenix. Here's the core flip, but both Vaughn and Yori-Lose are back for it and are ready. Palmy can't find the punch into the net there either. And Vaughn, despite being low on stagger, actually doesn't matter at all as the core gets sent flying once again. Bell sends it off the corner, gets a little bit of a lucky bounce, and would have stunned the goalie again. As long as the root is stunned, he can't do anything, right?
Fudgy has to look death in the eyes as that Rasmus hook comes right in front of him, but not quite enough reach because he doesn't have aerials or missile prep to make it go further. Kilius trying to stop Bells from having so much power over this core. Not quite enough, though, for them to get it, but Fudgy is able to find a kill out of that now. Pushing forward, but the Tofu Fortress is going to help stop that out. Palme, my bad. The Albion Rod is getting to me. Now, trying to make this play happen here with Palme going everywhere from being no health, with Kilius helping that. Fudgy trying to make a play here. Now, as we're seeing, Fudgy is able to get a KO onto Bells now. Kilius holding that core flip, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't need it because Fudgy is going to make a play and get the point. Now, 1-2.
Beautifully done from Fudgy Waffles. Finds the KO, then just takes it himself with the rest of his abilities to shove it right back. That is the exact thing you want to see on the Rasmus, right? Your ability to just find those pendulum swings, stun the goalie, send the core back, all at the same time. But now, you also want to see those KOs, as Vaughn's able to find one there. And another thing I want to comment on here, with both Monumentalist and Castellast in the last one, Kilius really is hoping for the Timeless Creator coming up soon in an Awakenings Carousel. If it's not the next one, it might be doomed, because there are so many cases like right there where a little bit of extra size and a little bit of extra length for some of these anomalies would make so much of a difference. You see the goal line just getting defended so well, but that scaling has to come online, and it hasn't yet, hoping that the rapid fire and the prime time can hold it down. Because now they have a power play opportunity. Gets sent around the backside. Gets sent around the backside again. There's the goalie chops coming in from Vaughn. Now the Anomaly is able to get it out of this corner. Tofu Fortress out. Apalme finds a KO on Devon. Looking for the collapse here. Pendulum swing out. Beautifully done to find the cross up against You Already Lose. And now the redirection down to the bottom corner while Apalme saves that core flip for the next round.
Yeah, having that core flip going into this round is going to be very nice to see, as the only one close on their side is Bells, but Fudgy Waffles might be marking them as a potential victim to be found fishing in this net, with the banish coming onto Vaughn, taking him out of the pitch for a little bit now. With, I was mistaken, it wasn't Fudgy, but Apalme looking for the KO onto Bells here now, with no core flip, but no Bells to boot. Now, can they do it? Fudgy passing to Apalme, trying to get this through, but it is not quite enough, as the back pass behind the barrier is enough to get it through. And Vaughn coming back and getting that nice kill onto the goalie. It's going to be hard to keep this one defended by Fudgy Waffles himself, but he will try to do it, but it's in vain, as Bells is able to get a nice corner shot for set 2.
It's goal 5 again. The Sad Boys take goal 5 again. They're going to get first pick in the carousel again. No Timeless Creator, so saved perhaps a future time, but we'll see what ends up happening here, because I feel like this might just repeat itself a little more. It'll be Vaughn picking up that hot shot first and foremost, right off the rip, denying that from anyone else, and we'll see the rest of this fall through, as now Spark of Focus picked up here by Apalme, maybe looking for a little bit of extra cooldown, realizes that can pump out the damage quite a bit, but needs a little bit of extra help to get there.
Yeah, and I think Fudgy Waffles picking up that Catalyst is definitely a nice pick, as we're going to be seeing here a lot of damage from a team like Rasmus Juliet. So we're definitely going to be a lot more energy from that. But it doesn't matter if you can't rack it up and you get KO'd by Bells. And Vaughn is finding himself gone though from Apalme. So Juliet's both found themselves a Rasmus KO here.
That was... It literally... That's the definition of a mirror matchup right there, where the Juliets each find the opposing Rasmus, dash punch, same exact time nearly, sent away. Sad Boys still have the advantage though. Apalme tries to find the return KO, but no, denied now. Pillar will get in the way for a moment, but it's not there, bound to the bottom side, and Bells will be able to find the angle there once more. Just 2 goals away here once more for the Sad Boys.
Yeah, definitely a hard game to come back from the Goats Esports, as you've seen this before, but it seems that Vaughn and Bells were both on the same side there, ready for that core flip, but it seems Fudgy Waffles was able to find himself a Juliet in the pond, as now they have a power play potential here as they try to get this core over. A even harder power play potential now, as there's a double KO. Pass to Apalme, trying to get this through with Rasmus in the back to back it up, and it's enough to get the barrier down.
Just barely. Now Fudgy Waffles, beautifully done, pulls it right back and finds it down to the bottom corner. Goats are not out yet. They're just getting started. And they're going to have that mentality to come back in this one, because they've got to find a way to close out a set. If they force it down to set 5, don't start playing nervous. Just keep playing your game.
As we are seeing here, they are playing that game and they're trying to do it well, but it seems that Vaughn is able to find a nice pendulum swing to get that barrier down now, as they have their backs to the wall. They're trying to dribble this out, but it's not enough, as Apalme is going to find themselves KO'd now, as they have to stall a little bit longer or play the risky game and go for that barrier down. As they were going to see here, Bells in the middle of the goal barrier trying to get the goal itself, and they're able to sneak it through the Tofu Fortress now, as Apalme is back.
Bells, low on stagger, might be between everyone, but still finds a KO in the interim against Killiest. Fudgy Waffles will have to bail it out to Apalme to the top side, but Bells is now just waiting for the pass, interrupted once by Apalme, and now the pendulum swing comes out. Hold the line, goalie Waffles, hold the line. He does there to send it back up to the top side. Apalme now tries to get it around Vaughn, but no, can't there. Has core flip available. You Already Lose, probably going to send it back down. Now waits for a moment, trying to find the opportunity. Somersault, baited out. Now the cross up is made up to Apalme to find the shot towards the barrier. Death touch goes slightly wide of Vaughn, and now Bells comes right through to punish the core flip. It's momentum swinging right back to the favor of the Sad Boys. Vaughn's on the dribble once more. Bells down to the corner. Apalme tries to interrupt the play. It is successful for a moment, but then it goes right behind the Anomaly once again, and it is match point for the Sad Boys.
Definitely a tough position to be if you're goats, especially with a play like that where the pillar may have had some influence on why it went into your goal, but it is something that happens when you're in overtime as a player like Rune. But now we're gonna have to see here as they're trying to make up for it, trying to get this goal barrier in broken, but Apalme has taken a ton of damage already now as they're trying to dish that damage back out onto their goalie while this is kept on that side, but it's not enough as Apalme is now finding that the barrier is broken. Oh well, Banish from Kilius is going to be able to do lots of damage on the Bells here, as we're going to see they are trying to get that barrier down, but Apalme is going to find themselves KO'd with Kilius having the core flip, trying to keep this out.
Caleb tries to go forward. Now Bells in the corner again. Kelly is forced to use that energy burst, but Bells is there on the Flying Phoenix once more. The Sad Boys will advance to 5-0 in the North American Strikers League with a match next week and a date versus the other undefeated team, the Demons Raw.
Yeah, that was a tough game here to say, but I do think that Goats played better. They were slowly adapting as they had more KOs this time around, and that Sad Boys had less KOs, not nearly as much as last time, but still a very solid of 15. But it was a 14, I believe, if I can count, on the other side of Goats Esports, but it wasn't enough to save them from that match.
So close, and look, the Jakar ban was probably the right call from the Sad Boys, right? Makes it that much more difficult, actually, for those members, or for Kilius to hold, right? That's his comfort character, and now is forced to go over to the Rune, where sure, there's some things, but it feels like the Rune's at least a little more Awakenings dependent, right? And especially in that first carousel, when both Monumentalist and Castellast were online, and he decided not to take either, going for the rapid fire there as the fourth pick in that carousel. You don't have a lot of options that are left. And then the hot shot gets taken away from you. And the second one, so many things just feels like they didn't quite come together for the Goats. The stars really do need to align to knock off the Sad Boys, and they didn't here today.
I think you have a point. He probably went rapid fire there because he had prime time, and those do mix well together, especially on a character like Rune. But I do think maybe taking a more character specific thing would have been very helpful and influential onto the match, because as we saw, there was a lot of times where the pillars just weren't quite big enough, or they didn't quite last long enough, or that banish didn't last quite long enough or do enough damage to take someone out or to make sure that goal got defended. And I really think that they did make the right ban, as Kilius on that Drakkar is quite a monster, and taking him off of his comfort character is definitely a smart strategy.
So the Goats now will fall to 2-3 in the league, and I'll just read out their next four opponents because it feels like a manageable, pretty even schedule. Next week, they'll go up against Oshino Core Flip. The week after is Super Week, where they'll have both Orbits, and then they'll play Finesse, and then their final match of the season will be versus Core Overflow. There's a shot where this team, who's been continuing to go through a scaling process over the course of the season, can continue making a push and even attempt to go positive once we get towards the back half of this season. I think there's a decent chance that they end up making the playoffs line, but only time will tell, of course, because again, the dynasty of the Sad Boys will continue, because next week, like I mentioned, they'll have to go up against Demons Raw in the match that everyone, I'm sure, will be looking forward to again. Alter, we got anything else? Because I think that does it for our casting block.
I also believe that does it here. I think that both teams in this series demonstrated a lot of potential. There was a lot of highlight moments, I would say, from both sides here, but that is going to be it.
That'll be it. Thank you all so much for tuning in, but we got one more match to play, and this one is probably the one that most are looking forward to this week. The Sundubu Strikers, who are currently ahead in the standings, are going up against Jakara Chatting in what could very well be a pivotal match for the teams that are going to end up making playoffs at the end of the season, especially with the surge that we've been seeing from Goats. Don't go anywhere, folks. You won't want to miss it up next, because it's Saya and Borg on the call. We'll be right back on the other side.